Hey guys, Mike here. So another jam-packed video for you, and I always love to show you guys examples of manipulation, and I'll show you one on the biggest company in the world that happened today, right after lunch, as a matter of fact, if you didn't notice. Even they do it too, okay? Before we get into some economic data that did drop, which the market doesn't seem to really care too much about, but we'll cover it anyway. We like to know what the hell is going on, don't we? Now, also, I'll get into Tesla, IWM, Sofi, Fintechs, and then we'll go into some earnings as well. We kind of detail in those charts to show you a few things. Now, if you are wondering about why these companies are holding up so well, it's because cash held by these corporations is at a massive all-time high, if you cannot tell. And so what do they do with this money? They lay workers off and they buy back their stock. That's what they do with it. I mean, let's be real. That's what these big corporations are doing. Now, Apple, you might have noticed what we talk about, sitting at this really, really important junction here going, okay, can't break this line right here. Don't want to break this line because if you do, all of a sudden you're setting a new low and you've already been looking pretty weak there, Apple. So, of course, what do? You say, hey, Timmy, we need some support here. We're at critical support. And he says, don't worry. I'm dropping the AI headline as we speak. And boom, Apple made the disclosure internally Tuesday, surprising that nearly 2,000 employees working on their EV project. Employees working on the project will be shifted to the AI division under somebody we don't know. Those employees will focus on what? Generative AI projects. Boy, we love that phrase, don't we? So, of course, immediately the stock says, okay, see you later, 2.5% pump right out of the gates, no problem. And of course, what stopped it in its tracks, always pull at the moving averages, the 200, a freaking brick wall for it. But it got its AI pump, will continue above the trend line, above the 200, finally break out above it, get some life in it now that it's going to do AI. And Apple actually has bought a bunch of AI companies quietly over the last year. So maybe they'll finally get their AI pump because they seem weak as can be. And if they start pumping, you already know what's going to happen, right? And so that leads us into the data that the market one day may actually care about, and it may not be as bad as what people think. And one is the Richmond Fed manufacturing. Remember, people just don't seem to care about manufacturing, but this one was -5. That sounds bad, but it's versus -9 estimates, so it came in better. New orders increased, shipments remained unchanged, employment jumped to plus 0.7. Again, this goes in cycles, right? And we've been below that zero line for quite a while. And so maybe we'll finally get above the zero. When it comes to actual orders and stuff, we'll have to see. And so if we move on to the next one, that one was the Dallas Fed Services Index. This was -3.9, but that's not bad compared to -9.3 earlier. And so again, this is another one which goes in cycles. And so it is still in contraction. But as people look at this, you can see they go, wait a minute, is this a new cycle up? And so it breaks above zero. That's what we're going to have to find out, okay? Now, last one. You look at this one right here. This one tries to scare everybody to death. Durable goods orders. New orders for manufacturing durable goods in the United States slumped by 6.1% month over month in January, more than the market expectations of 4.5, following a 0.3% decrease in December. This marked the most substantial monthly decline in durable goods since April of 2020. And when you look at this chart, I want you to look at one thing. What do you see? Big movements. Yes, you had -6.1, but we look over, we also had a -5.1, then we bounced back to 5.4, we had a -5.6, end up a couple months later bouncing up to 4. And so big movements are normal, but more importantly, look over here at a line chart. Let's change this and put this in a different perspective. What do you see? This goes back to like 2000 and looks like 14, I believe. And you see that range? Where are we at right now? We are still in that range. If you do an upper range and lower range, still in that range, you can see you get big movements in this thing, right? And so again, wouldn't freak out about this one. The manufacturing stuff, maybe it's going to come back up. Again, it looks like hot garbage, but doesn't seem like most people seem to care about it right now. Eventually, it will mean something. And so that leads me into what took place today and some of these different moves that happened. But before we do, please hit that thumbs up because it helps people find this video. And if you like financial content where somebody does not try to make themselves seem smarter than they are and talk over your head, please hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. All right, moving on. You can see where rotation was coming in at today, and it was kind of surprising because yields were up, dollars up, but utilities were up, biotech's up, fintech's up, cruise is the EV stocks. And then you got some communications and housing stocks coming in. The utilities are kind of surprising, but when you look at small caps, what are we doing? We're still wedging here, and we're going to pay a little more attention to what's happening and what formation we're getting here. And when you look at this right here, some people, they'll call it a rising wedge, whatever they want to call it, but rising triangle, whatever, ascending triangle. Forget the name. I like to call it, somebody called it a flat top one time, so I've actually just started using that, and it makes sense to me. And if you look at how this ETF's been moving up since November, you see a lot of flat tops on here, okay? You can see what happens is you get this level, it just can't break through, but it starts setting higher lows, right? And when it finally breaks through, it's like somebody trying to kick a door down. It takes way more than one shot, okay? It's not like in the movies where they do it with one. But when they finally do it, it explodes open, right? In the same way this has been happening on these moves. You get another flat top here, higher lows, explosive move up, right? And so you've seen this probably like 3 times since November now. And of course, when we hit the December highs, maybe we blow right through it. There's not even a test, right? But it seems to me that's what it's kind of setting up for. And so again, it can break down. I'm not saying it's not going to break down, but again, you see kind of the same thing here where it actually failed, right? Where you'll see it hit multiple times the same level and then it fails. And so it could fail, but it seems like that's what this is setting up for right here. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And that leads us to Tesla. And you can see Tesla just doesn't have the same mojo at all, buddy, because this thing would have been closed this gap already. But you can see we talked about 2 or 3 yesterday. It broke through it, immediately starts to move. You're thinking, okay, this is the day we're finally going to feel the rest of that gap. Nope, sorry, turns over, starts selling off. Just as it has done every single day where it gets, it floods out by the first couple hours and then it starts to sell down every day. But when you pull up the extended trading hours on Tesla, I mean, you can see on this whole move sideways and up, all it's doing is mitigating all those big fair value gaps that left behind on that huge move down after earnings right there. And so the other thing to look at is, what do you see us getting to now? If you look to the right where we're at, look a little to the left, man, that sure looks a lot like a double top, does it not? And that's what you hope we don't have going on here. All right, we do have a fair value gap right down below, but one thing Tesla loves is double bottoms and double tops. Okay, so we'll have to see how this plays out. It does have that trend line, that expanding wedge it's been in, so we'll see if that actually is support and we get another bump up in the morning. Now, Sofi will be another one. Nice little breakout here on the smaller wedge as it's in a larger wedge that we've talked about forever and ever and ever. And with this one, it's simple. Is this a false breakout? Could be, because it's had many of them. Why? Because it's been sitting here in this area for over 2 years that it hadn't been able to break out of. If it can finally get up to that line right there, the one for the big wedge, and break out, 1253, 1388, could be in play. There's no doubt about it, right? But again, you have to get up to the next descending trend line right there. This is in that larger wedge, which is what Sofi seems to love to move out of and break out of. And of course, when you look at that, I mean, again, if it can break out of it, that will be a huge move up, which I know a lot of people would love to see, because this one, again, is setting in stage 1. You want to get to stage 2 where you finally start to actually break out like everything else. But when you look, pull out, for almost a year now, I mean, it has set higher lows, right? No lower lows. And so that actually is a good thing when you look on the daily, just has to finally start setting the higher highs. But the big thing about this one is, remember, this is fintech. Fintech, like semis, Chinese stocks, cybersecurity stocks, they move as a group normally, okay? And so what you see today, all of them green, right? After Square's earnings, they've all been moving pretty good. PayPal's been lagging right there. And when you look at this ETF, FINX, which is the global fintech ETF, I mean, this one right here, you can see when you pull up that volume profile right there, that it has room to run, right? If it gets above this level right here, you're in a volume gap. And so again, this has all of these fintechs plus a whole lot more on a global scale. We could actually see this thing keep going. So let's see if it's something that money continues to rotate into. I know a lot of people are in a lot of these stocks and everything. And so maybe finally they'll start to get some consistent love, right? They keep trying to break out and then getting failing and then getting knocked back down and stuff. So let's see if that finally happens for them. And if we pull in a little bit more detail here, you can kind of see, I mean, 27.30 is what you're looking for to break on this. Rise up to around $31, $32 right there. And so, let's keep an eye on the fintechs. Let me know if you're in those. And then when it comes to earnings tomorrow, you'll have, I believe that's Baidu on top, Advanced Auto Parts. Then in the afternoon, you'll have Marathon, Snowflake, Salesforce, AMC, C3 AI, Okta. Whew, that's going to be a lot of them right there. Let me know if you're betting on any of those. And then a lot of economic data, your core PCE prices, GDP growth is going to be coming out here. PCE prices, real consumer spending, is going to be coming out quarter over quarter. Retail inventories, ex-auto, wholesale inventories coming out. A lot of oil data is going to dump. I don't think it's going to affect too much. Oil seems to be breaking out right now. 17-week bill auction coming out at 11:30, and then you'll have 3 Fed presidents back to back to back. And so we'll get to see what narrative they are painting as far as the rates and everything. So my rate cuts have been pushed back into summer now, and the market don't really seem to care, right? So it was about rate cuts, and now all of a sudden maybe they're like, whatever, don't matter if they cut rates or not, we're still going up, right? We're still on this AI pump because NVIDIA saved the market and pushed everything up. The other thing to look out for, which I just did a members video on, is there finally a real rotation, this quiet rotation in the other stocks? Because you saw the equal weight ETF for the Qs and the SPY up green today. The equal weight ETF for the SPY is trying to get to new 52-week highs. Okay, so keep an eye on that one. The QQEW is already at 52-week highs. So, and they were handily outdoing the SPY and the QQQ today, while of course small caps was doing what? Kept moving up, right? And a lot of other stocks that normally don't get any love moving up as well. So just keep an eye on that. So anyway, hope you guys got something out of it. Hit that like and subscribe button on your way out as usual. I appreciate it. Have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow.